has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Yeah, the one, the only Sportcat. I am struggling through today to make it. If you listened yesterday, you know I'm being taken out by a tiny terrorist. So, all right, well, first off, I need to say thank you to all my listeners in Australia. Welcome, welcome. I encourage you to come over and find me on the YouTube under the Sportcat shows, and you can find plenty of people in our chat that you'll like, and you can comment and enjoy the show with us. Like Denise, my number one mod. Hello, Denise. How are you? Chris, my super fan. Welcome, welcome. No, there's no cold meds on board, Chris. I wish. No, I'm trying to struggle through this as best I can. So, all right, a little bit of housekeeping. I received some fan mail, and I appreciate everybody that sends mail to me. Apparently, a former affiliate of the Nightlight Studio Sportcat shows has decided to take their grievances to the air and talk trash about me, which is fine. I encourage it because, well, if somebody's talking about you, then that means, well, somebody's thinking about you and you're getting fans. But I just want to be for the record. I am not going to burp, fart, and drink alcohol on the air and air studio business behind the scenes stuff to my fans because you all don't deserve it. And if you want to call yourself that you're straight up the effing middle, well, good, cool. Well, maybe you shouldn't drink yourself into oblivion on the damn air and talk about other shows. So if you have something to say, at Sportcat on X, sportcat@protonmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, or join the chat and let's air it out here because, well, only sissies talk about you behind your back, right? So that's it. I'm done. I've got my blood pressure up. I'm not going to sink to that standard because mama didn't raise me that way. So, all right. Well, good afternoon. It is 2:04 on the East Coast. And we see that, well, it's lunchtime in Chicago. Well, no, it's not lunchtime. It's after lunchtime. Hope you enjoyed your lunch. It's lunchtime in Denver, 12:04. LA, you're at 11:04. And Anchorage, you're at 10:05. Honolulu, 8:05. Greenland, well, I don't know why I care, but it's 4:05 tomorrow afternoon. And for our friends in Australia, welcome. We're glad you're listening to us overnight. It is 2:05 in Perth. Sydney, it is 4:05 a.m. tomorrow, by the way. Yeah, I'm time traveling. In Adelaide, in Australia, 3:35. Lord Howe, 4:35. I added some other time zones in there just because, and I thought I would even add Santa's residence. So it's 6:05 tomorrow night in Santaland. So there you go. And for for where we're probably going to be really soon, it's 2:05 in the afternoon. We'll talk about that. Chris says, thank you for that description. It solved all questions I had about who it was. Well, you can, like I said, I don't do it on the air. I left amicably, and I am professional. I don't spew hate, and I will not call people names if they disagree with me. I will listen to them, and I will give my opinion, and I will move on. But I am not going to call people hate, and I am strong support of public safety. And if that drives your ass crazy, well, good. Maybe it should, because we need to support our military and our law enforcement. They're doing shit that you are not doing. So, welcome, Denise. You could get your ass, Brenda, I was about to fire you. So you get your ass out of bed before noon. Good Lord. Welcome, Brenda. I'm glad you're here. I was going to fire you, but I guess since you're here, I won't. So, where do we start? Oh man, I am dragging today. On this day in history, 2333 BC. Yes, Chris. Well, yeah. Anybody who follows knows. 2333 BC in the state of modern day Korea. Not even trying. My head hurts too bad. Is founded by Dangun Wagongome. I got me. During the reign of the Chinese Emperor Yao. 52 BC. Why are they not going backwards? Are we going? I don't know. Leader of the Gauls surrendered to the Romans under Caesar, ending the siege in Battle of Alesia. I should have looked at this beforehand because I can't pronounce half of this today. Dafed ap Gruffdid, Prince of Gwynedd in Wales. Yeah, at me on that one because I screwed it up. Becomes the first person to be executed by hanging, drawn and quartered. Oh, that was not nice. 1922, first facsimile photo is sent over city telephone lines in Washington, D.C. 1935, Italy invades Ethiopia, starting a second Italia-Ethiopian war. 1941, The Maltese Falcon, based on Hammett's 1929 novel of the same name, directed by John Huston, and starring Humphrey Bogart and Mary Astor, premieres in New York City. 1992, Irish pop singer Sinead O'Connor tears up a picture of Pope John Paul II on Saturday Night Live. 1995, former NFL running back and broadcaster actor O.J. is found guilty of the murders of Nicole Simpson. I'm sorry, he is found not guilty. That was my error. O.J. Simpson is found not guilty of the murders of Nicole Simpson, Ron Goldman in L.A. 1888, New Zealand natives are privately organized and mainly rugby team play their first game in the UK and beat Surrey 4-1. They're the first national rugby team to wear all black and perform the haka. I don't know. Did you know Pravda newspaper is founded by Leon Trotsky, Adolf Joel, and some other people, and they're Russian exiles in Vienna this day on 1908. Oh, let's get through this day. World Smile Day. Brenda, maybe you should get an alarm clock. Famous birthdays. Al Sharpton is 71. James Herrott. Well, he has apparently passed away. God. I'm just not going to make it today. Let's see. Let's just skip forward a few decades and find some people we might know. Anybody important born today. And my goodness, there's a lot of people born today. And I don't know, 1/3. I don't even know. I don't know any of these people. So I should do my homework a little bit better. But today I was just dragging. All right. So let's get up to somewhere where our listener timeline may recognize. Let's see. Jeez. Who's that? American photographer Bert Stein was born in Brooklyn in 1929. Robert G. Clark, an American politician and Mississippi's first black lawmaker after the Civil Rights Movement, was born in Ebenezer, Mississippi. And I'm just going to skip through, see if we know some of these people, because I don't. 1935, Charles Duke Jr., American Air Force Brigadier General and NASA, I'm going to throw this computer out the window, astronaut, Apollo 16, born in Charlotte, North Carolina on this date. And I'm just going to keep moving ahead because I don't know any of these people. Do any of my fans know any of these people? Probably not. We probably have to get to at least the 50s, with the exception of Brenda. She probably knows all the people in the late 1800s. 1951, Jack Harris, British rock vocalist with the Alan Parsons Project. Born in London. I'm going to shoot this thing, throw it out the window. Oh, wait a minute, I can't say that online. I'm going to merely toss my screen out the window. How about that? Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. He was born on this day in 1954. Gone too soon. And let's see. We'll keep going here. You guys are going to have to keep me awake today or something. I'm fevered too, I think. I should have took my fever. My temperature. My voice is better, but I will say last night I probably ingested about 10 gazillion milligrams of vitamin C. 1974, Mike Johnson, a Canadian hockey, is apparently a right wing. I assume that's a position for the Toronto Maple Leafs. and he's a broadcaster with the NHL Network and TSN. He was born in Ontario. And let's see, I'm just skipping through these people because I don't know any of them. And if you do, well, you can tell us in the chat. And I'm going to probably close this window before it makes me angry and you all see me throw a fit on the radio like some other shows do. Let's see. Let me catch up in the comments. Yes, it is almost my birthday. What day? My birthday is what? Monday, Tuesday? I don't know. I'm like 78 years old, I think. Chris says, when you want to be outrageous and edgy, but make sure you don't end up on the bad end of things, choosing to crap on Catholicism and the Pope is the safest target. Are you saying to crap on the Pope and the safest target? I did see the Pope did something weird today. I didn't put it in the news, but he apparently, I assume they brought in a large block of ice from somewhere. It was a huge block of ice. He had a ceremony and blessed it. I was like, what? Why are we blessing ice? I didn't, not Homeland Defense ice, like a block of frozen water, aqua, H2O. I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to dig into this any further. That's weird enough. Chris says, other religions may not be so forgiving, if you know what I mean. Yeah, well, yeah. And Denise, you and I are both born in October. Yes, correct. Brenda says she's the same age as me. Yeah, well, you aged rough. You lost limbs and shit. So, oh, and so apparently so is Brenda's daughter. Brenda says, I don't have a fit unless I get paid. Well, I already fired you, so. Oh, Chris says he was talking about Sinead O'Connor. Well, yeah. I still don't know what the blessing of the ice was about. It must be hot out there. What? I don't know what you're talking about, Brenda. It's in the 70s here. Last night, Ginger got sick and I had to let her out at 3 a.m. The dog, Mrs. Sportcat, everybody in the house is sick. The dog got sick at like 3 in the morning and I had to let her out. And apparently there's a video on our home security of me barely limping outside and throwing the mat that she got sick on over the side of the deck. And they were like, are you okay? I'm like, no, really, I'm not. 1226, St. Francis of Assisi dies. Apparently, he died in Italy at age 44, allegedly after receiving the stigma from an angel, the founder of the Franciscan religious order. He was Catholic friar who he did something with nature and instructed his followers to live like Christ. He was canonized as a saint in 1228 and is one of Italy's patron saints to this day, with an annual feast celebrated on the day after his death. Denise says maybe when it melts, it turns into holy water. I don't know. I should have read the article, but the picture was crazy. And so I don't know. Chris says tomorrow is St. Francis. Hey, that's what we were just talking about. Pet blessing day at my church, and take the puppy for a pet blessing. Well, there you go. And apparently there's a feast too. So dig in, get something good. Let me know what you get. 1863, Thanksgiving becomes an American holiday. At the height of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln declares a national day of Thanksgiving following a Union Army victory at the Battle of Gettysburg. In addition, Lincoln proclaimed that every fourth Thursday in November would henceforth be celebrated as Thanksgiving. So President Franklin Roosevelt briefly moved the holiday to the 3rd. It was permanently set to the 4th again in 1941. And we're getting close. 1990, Germany becomes reunified. Germany becomes reunified after 45 years of separation. After the Second World War, Germany was split into essentially two sections, the Allied-controlled West and the Soviet-controlled East. In November of 1989, the Berlin Wall, which was separating the two sides, fell. The Soviet Union would later fall in 1991, bringing an end to the Cold War with the reunification of Germany. North Atlantic Treaty Organization granted membership to the state, and Berlin became the official capital of reunified Germany. And on this day in 1995, the gloves didn't fit, so they acquitted O.J. Simpson. Lisa Irwin goes missing in 2011. 10-month-old Lisa Irwin goes missing from her home in Kansas City, Missouri, in the middle of the night. Despite a number of clues, including 3 cell phones that were taken from the house, she has never been found. Though some believe that she was killed by her mother's, others contend that she was kidnapped by a stranger and may still be alive. Interesting. I didn't know anything about that case. And let's see. Let's jump to what is today? Oh, Brenda, you have a holiday. It's Mean Girls Day. October 3rd is Mean Girls Day. And let's see. All right, I'm caught up in the chat. It's National Boyfriend Day. All right, well, if you have a boyfriend, congratulations. I heard there's also a new, I don't even know what to call it, but apparently it's like trans wire or something like that. It's where you love your AI partner, whatever your AI partner is. I was like, okay, that's weird. It's World Smile Day. I'm trying. Bokharan Battle Victory Day. Buy British Day. I really don't like anything British that comes to mind. Not that I'm offended by it. I just, well, wait a minute. No, fish and chips. Fish and chips. There you go. Right now, all I want is chicken soup. Francisco Mozarian's Day. Okay. Don't know what that is. Iraqi Independence Day. Kids Music Day. Manufacturing Day. National Body Language Day. National Techies Day. It's National Unity Day and National Wide Awake Day. Brenda, you need to celebrate Wide Awake and get your ass out of bed so you can come help me do this show when I'm struggling like today. So, let's see. Man, I'm supposed to have pop-ups blocked, but somehow something got in Google and I need some techie person to explain how the hell to get rid of them. I might just switch to DuckDuckGo. Let's see. We talked about body language and manufacturing day, techies day, and boyfriend day. Let's see what birthdays and events are on today from this site. I'm going to skip ahead to people we may know. Gary England, a meteorologist who helped pioneer the weather warning system. Chubby Checker's still alive. Wow. Born in 1941 on this day. Rock and roll singer who introduced the twist dance at the release of his infamous song, The Twist. And interesting side note, I just read about that, is emergency medical services noticed an uptick in calls for people with hip and leg damage from, apparently they would have dance-a-thons and they would dance until they like broke shit. So interesting. Did not know that. What am I thinking? I'll catch up on the chat. And today is also the date of the new Taylor Swift album. I've seen quite a few articles on it. I haven't heard any of the music. So, yes, Brenda, you did tell me, but you're in such a foul mood, I don't know when to believe you. So, Roy Horn, entertainer, and half of Siegfried and Roy. They had an interesting book out. Fred DeLuca, the co-founder of Subway. Isn't he in jail? Lindsey Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac co-lead singer and guitarist. Catherine Sullivan, the first American woman to walk in space. Interesting. Tommy Lee. Oh, we know who Tommy Lee is. He's the infamous drummer from the rock and roll band Motley Crue. Rob Liefeld, the comic book writer and artist who created Deadpool. Thank you. We couldn't go on without him. I'm a huge fan. Gwen Stefani. Actually, I haven't seen his last movie. Gwen Stefani, still living. Singer-songwriter known for her songs Just a Girl. Yeah, I like her. Sean William Scott, an actor widely recognized for the character Stifler. Stifler. Memorable events. President Washington proclaims Thursday, November 26, 1789 is the first Thanksgiving. Why are these presidents messing with the day? He declared Thursday, November 26. Well, Lincoln declared it's the last Thursday, and then Franklin D. Roosevelt changed it again and then moved it back. Why? So, President Wilson signs the federal income tax into law. God, I hate that law. And we talked about that. MLB pitcher Cincinnati Reds become the first Latin American to appear in the World Series. Adolfo Lug and the President Roosevelt in 1942 forms the Office of Economic Stabilization. Elvis Presley, well, he's 10 years old and he makes his first public performance at a talent show, and he takes 5th place. 1955, the Mickey Mouse Club and Captain Kangaroo premiere on TV. I remember both of those. I'm not old. California State Superior Court rules the book How and Other Poems as not obscene in 1957. They probably ruled a lot of things not obscene in California. 1960, the Andy Griffith Show premieres. That's in Mayberry in 1960. The first XO moon outside the solar system is discovered 8,000 years away by astronomers at Columbia University in 2018. And let's see. All right, we'll move to the next thing and see what's going on here. Today's moon, well, if you venture outside tonight and see it, it's almost 100%. It's 85% illuminated. Let's see. And wow, Brenda, I'm not going to say that. They'll at me all over the place online. Chris says Gary England was a TV meteorologist in Oklahoma City who probably saved a lot of additional storm chasers from being killed in the El Reno tornado that killed 4. All right, so we talked about this a little bit. The current moon phase for today is still waxing gibbous, and it's 85% visible. So when we come back and see you guys, it should be full because I'll be off this weekend. So, and let's take a look and see. Well, here's where it's day and light. We see the sun down there in South America shining brightly, and the moon is just now coming up in the east. All right, we're going to try this again with this guy because I want to master this site. I want to see all the things that are coming, and we're going to talk a little bit about asteroid 3 interstellar atlas because there's some interesting things going on with it, and there's also some crazy things going on with it. It's supposed to be near Mars today, and we're supposed to be able to get some pictures, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen because, well, the government is out on break right now. So we're not going to I wonder if this is all planned. Mr. Green Jeans. I remember Mr. Green Jeans. Chris says he told his trackers on the air they were way too close with the unique movement of the storm. Good. And we're going to look at Google AI tracking storms. And it's so impressive with the weather forecasting. All right, I can't find Interstellar 3I or 3 Interstellar, whatever, the Atlas, the one that's coming with the aliens to kill us. I don't know. They claim this on here, and I'm either blind or it's not. I think they're hiding it because they don't want us to know what's really going on with it. Because according to everyone, it's supposed to be by Mars. Well, there's Mars. And, well, guess what? I don't see an atlas anywhere nearby. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm usually wrong, but I don't know. Don't see it. So, all right, we're going to move onward because, whoa, I don't see it. There's K1. There's 414. There's A6, there's 2025 R2, all these others, but the one that's right now supposed to be closest to Mars so we can take pictures of it, well, it's not on the radar. All right, we'll move on. And what did Chris say? Forget about it. Experts know it. Say exactly. Trust us. The government knows, right? Today is day 276 of 2025, 79 days until winter begins. Question of the day: has Halloween been celebrated in America since the first settlers arrived? That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that. Wasn't it? It was a European holiday, wasn't it? No, not really, until large populations of Irish immigrants came to the United States in the mid-19th century. Did many other well-known Halloween costumes become popular here? So it came to us from our Irish immigrants. We love our immigrants that bring cool stuff like that. Word of the day, right ascension. What does it mean? It's the celestial longitude of an object in the sky measured eastward. I'm supposed to have pop-up blockers. Measured eastward along the celestial equator in hours of time from the vernal equinox, analogous to longitude on Earth. It's a lot of fancy words. Let's see, what else is here? Puzzle of the day. Blank ventured, blank gain. What's the saying? Fill in the blanks. Was it nothing ventured, nothing gained? Isn't that the saying? Let's see. According to the puzzle of the day, it is nothing and nothing. Hey, my IQ may be above 2. Congratulations. I got that one right. And today is the best day if you're out on the farm to castrate your animals. So you heard it here first. There you go. Let's look at the fall peak guide. Does it show us a map? No, it's not going to show us a map. Oh, there it is. All right, so they're still green, except for up in New England. Oh, there it's populating more. Up in New England, it's starting to turn. Why? Can you bring us up to date here? Why is it doing that? I just want to know what today's is. All right, so we'll wait for it to catch up, but apparently it's been happening up in the New England area. It's coming south there down the Appalachia and in the far north and northwest. Well, I'm just going to throw this thing out the window. And what? Stop. I want to know what today's was. Well, there you go. If you want to see this, go to the Almanac because it's just going to keep scrolling to tell you when and where. So there you go. But if you're in the Northeast, they're going to start changing anytime soon as it's moving further to the south. Here in Atlanta, it doesn't look like we're going to get fall colors until probably the 1st of November. Yep, there we go. 1st of November is when they'll happen as it goes through the middle of the country, and then it all turns to that winter gray. And Florida is the last hanging on to see fall foliage. They're hanging on almost through the end of November, and Texas as well. So there you go. Interesting. I didn't realize that little section of Maryland was that far out too. And by the end of November, well, it's past its peak in the deep south, and it's headed further south into December. Still green in December in parts of South Florida. Oh, I'm going to throw this thing out the window. December, looks like the end of December is when the color change happens in deep South Florida. I did not know that, so I did learn something today. Interesting. All right, there we go. By Christmas, it'll be gray all throughout the United States, and Santa, well, he'll be visiting. Best days today, October 3rd. Well, we talked about castrating your farm animals, cut firewood, cut hair to increase growth, dig holes, get married. Don't do it. Mow to increase growth, potty train, set your eggs, start a diet to gain weight. I need one to go the opposite way. Wax floors and to wean. All right. This is the Weird Almanac from Andrew McNeil. Today is 276th day of 2025. And we're almost, it's the 12th day of autumn. And we talked about today in history. In 2008, there's a refresher. When President Bush signed into law the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act, a bailout of the U.S. financial system. They created it. And let's see. 1789, George Washington discovered that 26 November would be the day for public Thanksgiving and prayer, the first in U.S. history. In sports, 1951, New York Giants player Bobby Thomason hit the shot heard round the world, a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 9th inning to clinch the NL pennant over the Brooklyn Dodgers. Today's quote: the reason a writer writes a book is to forget a book, and the reason a reader reads one is to remember it. Interesting. Well, I got a book I can't get out of my head, but I can't get it on paper. Tuesday's number, 1 trillion, the amount of public and private funds that Eastern Germany received from Western Germany in the 5 years following the reunification. And the full moon will be on my birthday, October 6th. Let's see. What I need to change my wallpaper too, so it's my actual show. All right. So why did that pop up? All right. Oh, glad you're back, Brenda. It's good to have you again. Thanks. All right. This comes to us from the Daily Signal. Johnson, U.S. House Speaker Johnson says that the Democrats handed the keys to the kingdom in a shutdown to Trump. Speaker of the House put the blame for any shutdown cuts on the Democratic Party Thursday as he backed up President Trump's talk of slashing unwanted programs. This is the way the system works. This is the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's decision, is to hand the keys to the kingdom to the president. He has put himself in that situation, and it's completely unnecessary. The president takes no pleasure in doing this. The federal government has entered its second day to a partial shutdown as Democrats have refused to provide the votes necessarily to consider a 7-week stopgap funding bill. Johnson's remarks following Trump's Morning Truth Social post, in which he wrote, "I have a meeting today with the Office of Management and Budget Director, Ross Vaught, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent." Right. Trump added, "I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again." Vaught has already froze billions in dollars of funding for New York City subway infrastructure projects. Under his direction, federal agencies are carrying out their contingency plans, which include delaying payments to employees, targeting spending that is not aligned with the White House's policy priorities. In Johnson's view, the White House budget chief, Vaught, carries out his program with no joy. As you know, whomever is seated at the chair at OMB during the shutdown has to do the same thing, said Johnson. We had a 45-minute telephone conference with Vaught yesterday. He talked to all the House Republicans. He takes no pleasure in this because Russ has to sit down and decide, because he's in charge of that office, which agencies, personnel, and programs are essential and which are not. This is not a fun task, and he is not enjoying that responsibility. However, Johnson argued that it's Vaught's decision to determine which programs they want to keep. Now, when he sits down as the director of OMB, he will obviously have a subjective determination on priority, said Johnson. And what do you think he would do? Because that's what any OMB director under any president, they're going to look and see for the administration's priorities first and ensure that those are funded. Johnson continued to say that Democrats could end the process as soon as they provided the votes necessary for the stopgap funding bill to pass. It could end today if the Senate Democrats would come to their senses and do the right thing for the American people. But if they don't, and if they keep government closed, it's going to get more and more painful because the resources run out and more things have to be reduced and eliminated. So there you go. It's and from what I read earlier, apparently there is no scheduled meeting with the House or Senate today. So Chris says, Russ looks like a real party animal. The guy you'd love to hang out with. Yeah, that's true. He's got a weighty decision. I don't envy him, whether he's a Republican or Democrat. You get people that are going to be losing their livelihood, and that's not an easy decision, but we have to carry on with the government. Speaking of carrying on, this comes to us from a very odd source, the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Nobody was really talking about this. Trump says U.S. is in a, quote, armed conflict with drug cartels after ordering strikes in the Caribbean. President Donald Trump has declared drug cartels to be unlawful combatants and says the United States is in a, quote, armed conflict with them, according to a Trump administration memo obtained by the AP on Thursday. Following the recent U.S. strikes on boats in the Caribbean, the memo appears to represent an extraordinary assertion of presidential war powers, with Trump effectively declaring that trafficking of drugs into the United States amounts to armed conflict, requiring the use of military force, a new rationale for past and future actions. The president determined that the United States is in a non-international armed conflict with these designated terrorist organizations, according to the memo. Trump has directed the Pentagon to conduct operations against them pursuant to the law of armed conflict. The United States has now reached a critical point where we must use force in self-defense of others against the ongoing attack by these designated terrorist organizations, the memo says. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Before signing signaling a potential new moment in Trump's stated America First agenda that favors non-intervention overseas, the declaration raises stark questions about how far the White House intends to use its war powers, if Congress will exert its authority to approve or ban such military actions. Well, they're not in office right now. The United States is taking a much more dramatic step, one that is very, very far stretch of international law, a dangerous one, according to Matthew Waxman, who was a national security official under the George W. Bush administration. It means the United States can target members of those cartels with lethal force. It means the United States can capture and detain them without trial. The U.S. last month carried out 3 deadly strikes. We'll see another one real soon against boats in the Caribbean that the administration accused of ferrying drugs. At least 2 of those operations were carried out on vessels that originated from Venezuela. Those strikes followed a buildup of U.S. maritime forces in the Caribbean unlike any seen in recent times. Navy presence in the region, 8 warships, 5,000 sailors and Marines. It's been pretty stable for weeks, according to defense officials who spoke on condition of inactivity. The memo did not include a timestamp, but it referenced a September 15 U.S. strike that resulted in destruction of a vessel, the illicit narcotics, and the death of approximately 3 unlawful combatants. As we have said many times, the president acted in line with the law of armed conflict to protect our country from those trying to bring deadly poison to our shores. And he's delivering on his promise to take on the cartels and eliminate these national security threats from murdering more Americans, the White House stated. Pentagon officials briefed senators on strike Wednesday, according to a person familiar with the matter, who was not authorized to comment publicly and spoke on the condition of anonymity. He didn't want anybody to know who the hell he was. And I wonder why he made it through the NDA. The Pentagon referred questions to the White House. What the Trump administration laid out at the classified briefing at the Capitol was perceived by several senators as pursuing a new legal framework that raised questions, particularly regarding the role of Congress in authorizing any such action, the person stated. Pentagon officials also briefed House staffers last week on the strikes, according to another person who was briefed on the meeting and similarly spoke on the condition of anonymity. The memo, which was reported earlier by the New York Times, lays out a rationale seen both as the administration's justification for military strikes and has already taken on the boats in the Caribbean, which have raised concerns from lawmakers as potentially unlawful, as well as any action to come. A White House official who wasn't authorized to commit publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity said the memo was sent to Congress September 18th and does not convey any new information. The person familiar with the Senate briefing said it was transmitted this week. Details weren't given on the cartels targeted. Trump has designated several Latin American drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. The administration has previously justified military action as a necessary escalation to stem the flow of drugs into the United States. Pentagon officials could not provide a list of designated terrorist organizations at the center of the conflict, a matter that was a major source of frustration for some of the lawmakers who were briefed this week. According to one of the people familiar with the briefings, while friendly foreign nations have made significant efforts to combat these organizations, the memo said, groups are now transnational and conduct ongoing attacks throughout Western Hemisphere as organized cartel. The memo refers to cartel members as unlawful combatants. The Trump administration is trying to justify the use of military force against drug cartels in the way Bush administration justified war against al-Qaeda following the September 11th attack, said Waxman, who served in the State and Defense Department and on the National Security Council under Bush. Bush, however, had authorization from Congress. Unlike Trump, the Trump administration is arguing it no longer has to consider the individual circumstances of using force, said Waxman, who now chairs Columbia's Law School National Security Law Program. It's basically saying we don't have to engage in that type of case-by-case decision-making, Waxman said. All of these vessels that are carrying enemy personnel can be targeted whether they are headed towards the United States or not. Waxman said he expects more strikes. We'll see if the United States takes the next big step in force of a territory on another state. Look for it by 5. There's going to be a 5 o'clock news drop. It's Friday. It's a slow news day. Lawmakers of both political parties have pressed Trump to seek war power authorities from Congress for operations against alleged drug traffickers. Several senators and human rights groups have questioned the legality of the strikes, calling them potential overreach of the executive authority, in part because the military was used for law enforcement purposes. Did we not have another administration that used more Tomahawk missiles than any president to target people? And wasn't he under a different party at the time? Just asking for a friend. Senate Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, said drug cartels are despicable, but the Trump administration has offered no credible legal justification, evidence, or intelligence for these strikes. Reed, a former Army officer, said every American should be alarmed that their president has decided to wage a secret war against anyone he calls an enemy. Like I said, if we go back in history, I think there was a 16-year period where we used more Tomahawk missiles against individuals than any other administration. Just saying. You can go back and do your history, do your homework. And Chris says, Chattanooga always gets the real dirt. My thinking on why it came out of Chattanooga so oddly is it must have something to do with lawmakers from Chattanooga or Tennessee. So it was very odd that I found it there. And Chris says Obama was a big fan of missiles in more ways than one. That's true. That's true. Yeah, like I said, learn your history. All right. So apparently, just before we came to be online today, Secretary Aurora Hegseth announced another U.S. attack on an alleged drug boat off the Venezuelan coast. 4 male narco terrorists aboard the vessel were killed in the strike, and no U.S. forces were harmed in the operation. The strike was conducted in international waters just off the coast of Venezuela, while the vessel was transporting substantial amounts of narcotics headed to America to poison our people, Hegseth said on X, which include footage of the attack. The War Secretary didn't give more details about the attack and only claimed that intelligence confirmed that this vessel was trafficking narcotics. The people on board were narco terrorists, and they were operating on a known narco trafficking transit route. This is the 4th strike off the coast of Venezuela in what the Trump administration insists are international water. Earlier this week, the Trump administration told Congress it believes it's engaged in an armed conflict with drug cartels and that it believes anyone smuggling illegal drugs should be considered unlawful combatants. Haven't we been in a drug war since the 80s? The term is a legal one used during the Iraq-Afghanistan wars by the government to justify lethal force by military troops, as well as indefinite detention. Putting drug runners in the same camp as al-Qaeda on the battlefield has prompted skepticism among legal experts who say the legal rationale is a stretch. It is unclear which groups are being targeted. President Trump has insisted the first boat strike included members of Tren de Aragua, but the administration hasn't said who was killed in subsequent strikes, including this one today. The official in Capitol Hill told ABC that lawmakers were interpreting the latest notice on strikes as the administration essentially waging a secret war against secret enemies without consent of Congress. U.S. officials have long claimed that Venezuelan cocaine shipments contribute to overdose of deaths in the U.S., and they accuse the country's leader, Nicolas Maduro, of facilitating drug trafficking, which he denies. The Trump administration has placed a $50 million bounty on his head. Hey, if only I had the money to fly down there, I'd meet him. Earlier this year, the administration designated all cartels as a foreign terrorist organization, which officials say give them legal authorities to go after them without due process. All right, so I'm gonna show this, and so YouTube is clear. This is not my video. This has been cleared and released by the Pentagon, and there is no audio, but we can see there's a nice little boat heading on its way, doing its little thing, you know, coming to America with all the drugs and bringing them to bad people, and oh, well, it just kindly disappeared. Yep, it just kindly disappeared. It looks as though the octopi are going to be high on illicit drugs. So there you go. This is from the Pentagon, and it shows what it appears to be a boat that was running drugs coming into the United States, and, well, it suffered a serious malfunction, and, well, they're now swimming with the fishies. Chris says, I'll pick 7 tonight. Let's go get that 50 million. I'm on it. I can use cold meds as an excuse. Excuse me. Putin praises Trump, but warns that supplies of U.S. long-range missiles to Ukraine will badly hurt ties. Oh, goodness. Moscow, President Vladimir Putin has warned the United States that supplies of long-range missiles to Ukraine will seriously damage relations between Moscow and Washington, but will not change the situation on the battlefield where the Russian army is making slow but steady advances. The potential supply of U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles to Kyiv will signal a qualitativity, it's a new stage of escalation, including in relations between Russia and the U.S. Putin said at a forum on foreign policy, experts in Russia's Black Sea of resort of Sochi. The Russian leader noted that even though Tomahawk missiles will inflict damage on Russia, if supplied to Ukraine, Russian air defenses will quickly adapt to the new threat. It will carry out, not change, the balance of the war on the battlefield. He added, emphasizing that the Russian military is continuously making gains in Ukraine. The White House has not responded to a request for comments on Putin's remarks. At the time, Putin hailed U.S. President Trump's efforts to help negotiate peace in Ukraine and described their August summit in Alaska as productive. It was good that we made an attempt to search for and find possible ways to settle the crisis, he said, adding that he felt comfortable talking to President Trump. While praising Trump and trying to emphasize potential common interests, including nuclear arms control, Russian president sent a stern warning to Ukraine's Western allies against trying to seize ships that carry Russian oil or global markets. He argued that would almost amount to piracy and could trigger a forceful response while sharply destabilizing the global oil market. And as if you don't know, he was asking about the detention of an oil tanker off France's Atlantic coast, which President Emmanuel Macron linked to Russia's so-called shadow fleet of aging tankers of uncertain ownership that are avoiding Western sanctions. Putin cast it as an attempt by Macron to distract public's attention from his country's own internal problems. He strongly warned the West against such action, arguing that it defies international maritime law and could trigger a forceful response. The risk of serious confrontation will increase, he stated. Putin also scoffed at the Western claims of possible Russian involvement in recent drone flights over Denmark, casting them as part of a purported NATO efforts to inflame tensions to boost the defense spending. I won't do it anymore to France, Denmark, Copenhagen, Lisbon, wherever they could reach, he said with apparently an evil grin. And he was asked about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Putin called it a heinous crime that should reflect a deep split in American society. He hailed Kirk as a hero for promoting the same conservative values that Russia shares. Putin also praised Michael Gloss, an American and son of deputy CIA chief who joined the Russian military and was killed in action in Ukraine in 2024. He was awarded a medal by Russia, but the family wishes to keep the matter private. There you go. All right. So yeah, by 5 o'clock today, something crazy will probably break. Let's see. Chris says the fact that they have put unclassified on video of a boat burning in the ocean is somehow ridiculous. Agreed. And well, whoever you are on Twitch, just go away. And let's see here. No, why am I hitting the wrong button? Last night, many of you may have seen this, but there was a fire at the U.S. West Coast. It was an important refinery. I think it was jet fuel. A massive fire erupted overnight in one of the largest and most critical refineries on the U.S. West Coast, which supplies 20% of Southern California's motor vehicle fuel and 40% of its jet fuel. So last night, a fire broke out, and there you can see it was pretty large. It was an explosion and massive fire at the Chevron refinery in El Segundo. I probably pronounced that wrong. Flames and smoke can be seen for miles around the Southland. Watch live at WABC. Well, it's over now. So apparently it happened and was under control and within an hour by Los Angeles Fire. So having spent many hours training for such a thing here in Metro Atlanta, I can tell you that usually what happens if something like that does occur, it's going to automatically seal the other sections. So basically think of it as a big metal door closing and sealing that lets nothing in or out. And it does this in the closest points between the supply disruption and fire. And so essentially it'll shut down what's coming and what's going, and what's in the middle will mostly burn off. I know that's really kind of overstating the simplicity of it, but when you have a fire that large and of that many gallons, the only way to quickly contain it is to stop the flow of the fuel, because fire needs a few things to actually, be a thing. And then once you've stopped the flow, try and make advances in fire safety to stop the rest, to contain the rest. That's the better way of spending it. And then you have to worry, of course, about the water runoff, and you have to worry about the hazardous material. It's a lot. So Chris says nuclear arms would be a great idea for a superhero names. He can have huge firearms that explode like bombs with mushroom clouds as he catches criminals within his grasp. I was playing last night in my fevered state with AI, and I created a couple cartoon characters. Excuse me. All right, so we're talking about the drug war. Well, 6 tons of drugs were seized by the U.S. Coast Guard in the Eastern Pacific. Following a seizure in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, the crew of the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Seneca offloaded more than 12,750 pounds of illicit narcotics with a street value to be estimated worth more than $94 million. This is at Port Everglades, Florida on Tuesday. They also transferred 29 smugglers to federal agents for prosecution. Seizure is part of the ongoing operation that utilizes multiple Coast Guard vessels and aircraft to interdict contraband and smugglers in international waters. Coast Guard crews working under Operation Pacific Viper launched in early August, partnering with global and interagency partners to conduct maritime narcotics interdiction operations. Though Operation Pacific Viper, the Coast Guard is accelerating counter-drug operations in the Eastern Pacific, where the transport of illicit narcotics continues from Central and South America. The Coast Guard utilized cutters, aircraft, and tactical teams to interdict, seize, and disrupt shipments of cocaine and other bulk illicit drugs that they took into the Everglades. According to the Coast Guard release, Operation Pacific Viper has resulted in a seizure of more than 80,000 pounds of cocaine. Captain Lee Jones, commanding officer of the Coast Guard cutter Seneca, commented on the efforts of his crew, saying, "I'm incredibly proud of the teamwork and adaptability displayed by my crew and our partners during this patrol to stop illicit drugs from entering the United States. Our crews sacrificed time away from their families and when necessary, put themselves in harm's way to secure our borders and protect the American people. United States Coast Guard is the lead federal maritime enforcement agency with authority to enforce national and international laws on the high seas within U.S. waters jurisdiction. 80% of all U.S.-bound narcotic seizures occur at sea, underscoring the impact of the Coast Guard efforts. I had some guys that I went to high school with. We were all going to go Coast Guard. I wanted to be a medic. I had broken knees from playing football and couldn't, but they went on and they become, I don't know what the technical name for it is, but they were basically special operations officers for the Coast Guard. They were pretty badass, and they described some things to us that happened down there off of the coast as, well, kind of crazy. We love our Coast Guard. Well, this side does. We love our Coast Guard. They're enforcing the law. Memphis City Council. This is interesting. The feds have helped cops who don't have staff to find all violent criminals with warrants. On Thursday's broadcast of, CNN Situation Room, Memphis City Council Chairman J. Ford Cannell stated that federal officials in the city have helped since the city's police department was too short-staffed to find violent criminals with warrants. They don't have details about the National Guard, but they said the National Guard can be helpful. Cannell's remarks, they became relevant around 55:20, I guess, in the speech. He spoke for an hour before they became relevant. Wow. The National Guard situation is still pretty fluid, but there are a few here, but they have not started patrolling or doing exactly what their tasks are going to be. And it's still a little bit up in the air as to what they'll be doing, but federal agents that are here and that have been making arrests have been welcomed by law enforcement. Look, last night I got the opportunity to see several of them, and seeing these men and women from multiple agencies getting to know each other and working together to all solve one common goal, one mission to lower the violent crime rate in Memphis was very refreshing. I think every Memphian, I don't know, they live in Memphis, they're weird, can get behind that. We want a safer city for ourselves and for our children and for all the tourists that come and see our great city. And they want to talk, they said there's been 93 arrests, and they've gotten pretty much every criminal warrant for bad people picked up. They've not even hardly been there any time. This comes to us from Zero Hedge. California mass ban puts federal agents and families on edge. The problem isn't for the agents, and I've discussed this significantly with other people in law enforcement, but the agents aren't the primary. Yes, they're the ones at the edge of the spear, the tip of the spear. But the problem is some of these people that want to inflict harm, they're quite frankly, they're pussies, and they decide to do it to their families and to their animals instead of the actual law enforcement. So California's mass ban has put these federal agents and families on edge. In fact, there was an internal memo. I was told that there's been a significant amount of people asking to transfer out of California. So if you go through and read the whole article, it talks about the federal agents and how they are supposed to do it, but apparently the federal government has told the agents to ignore it. Agents have been told to ignore the law. U.S. Attorney Bill Essie said in a memo to federal law enforcement agencies headed out of the Central District of California on September 26 to ignore the state's masking law. So there you go. There's going to be some conflict, and there's going to be people crying that they're, we talked about this a little bit, how apparently the French got kind of ballsy and went all pirate on a Russian ship, and they boarded it. And what was interesting about this is it was boarded by the police, not the French military. I'm not sure if there's a difference in their country, but the French police boarded it, took control, and seized all of the officers. And they're being kind of tight-lipped about what was going on. And they said several people are in custody. So we're going to follow that story. And if you live off the Florida coast, long-lost treasure worth $1 million has been discovered. Darn it, I was going down there this weekend. Long-lost Spanish-French treasure worth $1 million has been discovered off the coast. More than 1,000 silver and gold coins were found by a team of specialist divers in a stretch of water known as the Treasure Coast. It is believed they were minted in the Spanish colonies of Bolivia, Mexico, and Peru, and were bound for Spain on a fleet of ships, also carrying jewels in 1715. But the precious loot spilled into the sea when a hurricane wrecked the flotilla. This is not the first discovery to be made along the treasure coast, as gold coins worth millions of dollars have been uncovered by scavengers and hunters in recent year. What makes this haul special, to date, mint marks are still visible on some of the coins found over the summer, a valuable resource to historians. And there you go. You can go diving and find some things. Apple did the right thing, and it's infuriated, well, some people. There's two apps, Red Dot, and Red Dot has been taken down on Android. Apple takes down an app. The app is used like Waze. We talked about this yesterday. Like Waze, you can put in and say, there's police officers here, there's a roadblock, or there's a traffic jam, or whatever. Well, this app on Apple was giving away to reportings of ICE agents. But the problem is it didn't stop at the agents. And so, well, it's been determined by the federal government that they cannot track the agents and they cannot track the families of the agents. So Apple has taken it down, is no longer working on the Apple, whatever you call it, format. So, and Chris says that's mine. Brendan says that's mine. Put it back. I'm saving it. There you go. Chris says that's nothing, Glenn. We need to be focused on the 50 million. Keep your eyes on the prize. Exactly. I don't remember if we talked about this before. My buddy Penguin 6 took pictures of it and posted it. Well, they took the Epstein statue off of the National Mall. Apparently, it's been put back. So it's in honor of Friendship Month, and it's a silly statue. I guess I should. The plaque reads, in honor of Friendship Month, we celebrate the long-lasting bond between President Donald J. Trump and his friend G. Epstein. He's a wealthy financier, died in New York City jail in 19 while awaiting federal drug charges. So why do they talk about it and not put a picture of it? It was a silly looking thing. My buddy posted it on X. Go to search Google. There we go. Images. Let's see. I'm sure one of these images are his, but this is the most silly looking thing I've ever seen. Let me go to find a good picture of it. Maybe that'll be it. Can you send me the big picture? No, I don't want to pay money. Go away. Why does it do this? Just wants money. That's all anything. I need. I'm going to figure out how to use DuckDuckGo. Trying to find a good one that'll bring it up. There we go. Let's open image in new tab. Here we go. Maybe that'll show it to us. Well, it's kind of small. That's not what I want. All right, hold on a minute. I can figure this out on the fly. We're already into our second hour, and I ain't even done yet. Good Lord. Tools, size, large. Let's see the largest picture you got of this. And open image in new tab. All right, just go to X and find my buddy Penguin 6. He's got pictures posted there. So I'm not going to get around all these pay things to show this picture, but it's a fairly silly looking statue. They're two holding hands and they're dancing like they're going down the yellow brick road. This is a funny story. This comes to us out of Off the Press. A New York PD officer, NYPD, he's on sick leave. Well, he snuck into the Ryder Cup in tactical gear and claimed he was on the Trump security detail. An NYPD detective allegedly showed up at the Ryder Cup in full gear and claimed he was working security while on sick leave. The Washington Post has learned. The detective is facing administrative charges for theft of services. He might have gotten away with it on the golf course had he not dropped his gun magazine in the grass in front of a real security personnel. You're out sick. What are you doing at the Ryder Cup? One veteran cop said about his alleged stunt. You can't do that, and it's theft of services because you went in for free and you lied and you said you worked for the detail. He's 46, and well, he's apparently president of the Asian Jade Society. He showed up at the tournament in full tactical gear, claimed he was working, and then apparently dropped a magazine, and they caught him. Why was he playing with his magazine? He almost got by with it. Hollywood actress Anna Kendrick reveals that she has spotted Nessie in a trip to Scotland. And Beyond the Box says there was another school shooting in D.C. If you went to Penguin Six's site on X and verified that, he's usually on top of all of them. She claimed it happened on a visit to the Ardos Castle near Inverness, where TV show Traitors is filmed. The Pitch Perfect control star said she was eyeballed by the legendary creature. She's apparently 40 years old. She said she was a non-believer in Nessie until the encounter. She claimed it happened on a visit to the castle where the TV show Traitors is filmed. She's apparently a huge fan and was invited by the producers. And she said the trip was incredible. We went all around Scotland. We went to Loch Ness. I'm a card-carrying skeptic. It's like UFOs and Bigfoot. What are they talking about? And then I got on Loch Ness and I saw her. There was a thing and it came out of the water. It looked right at me. It might have actually just been one suspicious ripple, but I'm telling you, there was something. I felt it. And then on Tuesday, I didn't know this, the Royal Navy may have actually caught the Loch Ness Monster during WW2. The mysterious wartime encounter only came to light after unearthed letters sent to his late sailor granddad from Nessie investigators. So Lewis Tyler, who was aboard the HMS Ocean Swell laying anti-submarine nets, is said to have caught the sea serpent in the gear during operation at the famous lock. His grandson John Gibbons revealed the astonishing story and has letters to prove his story. Well, there you go. All right, we'll get back into Brenda says Fox 5 looks like yep. And Chris says reportedly Bill Clinton could not be included in the friendship statue because they were posing for the artist. Bill may have or have been occupied with considerably younger. Oh, Chris. All right, so this comes out. We're talking about 3I Atlas earlier, and this comes out from the scientist Ava Loeb, and this came out earlier this morning. And he says, like any blind date encounters with interstellar objects can result in deal breakers following non-negotiable behavior. In an interview with Gadi Schwartz on NBC, I divided the 7 anomalies of the third interstellar object, 3I Atlas, into 2 classes. Those that could be alleviated with upcoming data, and those that will remain puzzling forever. Number 1, the size. The diameter of Atlas is larger than 5 kilometers, making it minimum mass of 33 billion tons, larger by a factor of 1,000 to 1,000,000 than the mass of the second and first interstellar objects that they've spotted. 2, jet. The Hubble image of 3I Atlas showed a forward jet of scattered sunlight 10 times longer than it is wide, pointing towards the sun, as discussed here. A weak tail showed up only at the end of August. Number 3, unusual chemical composition. The plume of gas around 3I Atlas showed much more nickel and irons, as in industrial nickel alloys. Unlike solar system comets, the plume contained mostly carbon dioxide and not water. Polarization. The light from 3I Atlas showed extreme negative polarization. The trajectory is aligned with the elliptic plane of planets around the sun within 5 degrees, which is a 0.2 likelihood. The arrival time was optimized to pass near Mars and Venus and Jupiter, and we're going to talk about that in a second, and it is aligned within 9 degrees and easily signaled. So, yeah. He says, we must keep in mind the story of the Trojan horse, where an innocent-looking visit delivered an essential threat to the city of Troy. So he's arguing that this could be something that we need to investigate further. But you know what? Congress is on break right now, as we're going to discover, because an amateur telescopic image of 3I Atlas has now sparked frenzy, and NASA remains silent because, well, they're shut down. Today, Mars flyby is shrouded in mystery as NASA remains quiet during a federal shutdown. A tuber known as Dobsonian power captured an engine image suggesting unusual structure anomalies. With NASA furloughing thousands of workers, backyard astronomers are taking matters in their own hands and putting eyes on this unprecedented event. October 3rd was supposed to mark one of the most historic days in modern astronomy. 3i Atlas, the subject of fevered speculation, has swept past Mars, and a flyby that astronomers would have been anticipating for months is now hidden from Earth view by the sun's glare. Yet the moment arrived under a cloud of confusion and silence thanks to the government shutdown, and NASA is mute on all developments. Into this vacuum jumped an unlikely voice, a YouTuber, armed with nothing more than a solar telescope and coordinates used by professional observers. The amateur astronomer released an image yesterday that immediately set the social media world ablaze. The photo, shared with a caption, "What on earth is it?" appeared to reveal a dark, angular structure embedded within 3i Atlas. Within hours, speculation has run rampant. Does this have evidence of alien technology, a trick of shadow or light, or worse, an AI-generated fake? So that's the photo we have. We don't have any from NASA because, well, they're out to lunch. So we've been looking forward to this for so long, and, well, we get a guy with a telescope in his backyard, and it may or may not be real, and NASA has nowhere around to tell us about it. So there are people drawing pictures, which, of course, is all AI, and they're great because we could have got a wonderful view of this comet from Mars, as depicted here by artist's impression, probably AI, but, well, they're on break right now. So NASA says NASA is out to lunch while 3i Atlas is coming in. Is this planned? I'm just asking for a friend. We're not getting any data from NASA. Is this planned? Is this possible that this could be planned? That they shut down the government so we didn't know about the alien invasion coming? Asking for a friend. All right, well, apparently FEMA is operating on island time or something, because the only update we have is from yesterday. So we don't have a FEMA daily report to update. So we'll go over all of our stuff without FEMA. So there you go. They don't have much. All right, the president's schedule. Well, 9 a.m. was the pool camera time to be there. Why are you doing this? The president is participating in swearing-in ceremonies at 11:30 a.m. to the U.S. ambassador to the Kingdom of Sweden in the Oval Office. 11:56, well, there's a lunch lid. And then at 1 o'clock, they were having the press briefing. I wonder if during the press briefing, if they still have the on-loop pictures of the memes of the Democrats. That would be funny, but let's see. What button do I want to hit? I want to hit that to refresh. There we go. And then we'll hit that to make it larger. There we go. See, 1 minute ago, well, the Senate fails to advance a Republican bill that would reopen the government. So there you go. Breaking news 1 minute ago. The government funding legislation has failed again. The Smithsonian has announced that their museum will remain open through October 11th. And 15 minutes ago, well, the senators decided to leave the building. Elvis has left the building. So GOP Senator Hawley says Congress must act quickly to fix expiring tax credits. Wow. And Jeffries calls Trump's Republican congressional leaders unserious in shutdown talks. That's obviously, what's his first name? Jeffries. Across the aisle, there's been chats. Levitt repeats false claims about free health care for illegal aliens. That's according to the AP, but I've shown the actual bill here of what they want. It plainly says it. It says all people, though. Excuse me. It said all people. It didn't say just, it didn't. We're getting caught up in word salad. It didn't say illegal aliens or undocumented or people that weren't from here. It said all. It encompasses everyone. It's not rocket science, but yet they're standing on that hill. So good for them. All right. Well, I guess we'll go through a shutdown throughout the weekend. And apparently the Chicago mayor is vowing to fight Trump transit cuts. Well, he could have much of a fight if we owe the money. And then we talked about the strike on the boat. And apparently JD Vance is leading tour groups through the White House. I got to say, our vice president, I really try to stay out of politics, but I just like the guy. He seems so personable. I've read his book. It's a decent book. So I think he makes the best of it. Oh, the Iowa School District is suing to get back the illegal alien superintendent. What in the hell are we doing? Why are we? He's here illegally. He had a weapon. He had cash. He had a large hunting knife. What does a school superintendent need with those two items? I'll give you the cash. Okay, cool. Everybody likes cash. Maybe not that much, but, and why did he flee from police? But yet they want him back. And apparently, Chris, this is for you. There is tequila cocktails for a Taylor Swift party. Okay, to celebrate life of a showgirl. Well, maybe I'll get some views by talking about it. From Mexico City to Manila, the UK to the United States, Taylor Swift fans hooted, sobbed happy tears, and danced their way through the pop star's latest album, Life of a Showgirl. It's her second studio offering. It dropped Friday. I don't know what that means. I guess that means it's her own from her own studio. This is the first. So there you go. Well, apparently you can get themed cocktails for the event. So hopefully, Chris, this weekend you could enjoy some adult beverages with somebody close to you and celebrate Taylor Swift's new album. So, all right, we're going to move on from the AP because it didn't give us a whole lot. We'll look at the Weather Prediction Center. This comes from NOAA. They're not out to break, unlike other places. They are still in business. We see in Idaho, Wyoming, higher elevations in Colorado, Utah, and Nevada, well, they're going to get some of that wintry mix. If you're up in the Great Lakes between Wisconsin and Michigan at the Canadian border, well, you're going to get some spotty showers. It looks like in the Ohio Valley, headed down towards the Kentucky mountains, there's some rain there. The Deep South, where there's always a chance of a pop-up storm. And, of course, following the coastline of the Gulf of America and the East Coast, there's a chance of some pop-up showers. There's that. Let's look and see. Let's do this for our friends in Australia because, well, we've been here for an hour and we haven't talked about their weather. Currently in Sydney, it is 14 Celsius. That's your low. Well, you're going to get up to 23 today and be mostly sunny. Melbourne, you're right at 11. And there's no really winds to speak of. It's going to get up to a high of 25 and be sunny. Brisbane, you're at 14 Celsius. 27 is going to be your high today. It's going to be partly cloudy with some slight winds. Perth, you're almost to 16 Celsius. Your high is going to be 22, but it's going to be rainy, so take an umbrella. Adelaide, you're right at 16 Celsius. It's going to be sunny with some breezy winds at a high of 29. Hobart, well, you're right now at 13, so you're above your low. It's going to be 22 and partly cloudy. Canberra, well, you've got some breezy winds out of the east-southeast. You're at 2.2. It's going to get to 23 Celsius today and be mostly sunny. Darwin, you're right at 26 Celsius. Your high is going to be 37 and sunny for the day. And let's see, what else do we have going on here? And we look at it. It's funny. It's a Friday. It's a slow news day. And with everybody on furlough or out to lunch or whatever with the federal government, some of these sites are hard to update. So I have to really pay attention. But apparently there's a less than 2% chance across the lower 48 of any significant tornado action. Now, that's not saying we're not going to have some winds, because down in the Four Corner regions and at the higher elevations, stretching back to Idaho, you're going to see some winds today. Some could be severe near the Four Corners. And can I make that larger? Yeah, I can. That didn't really, if you see, actually, yeah, near the Four Corners is where the winds will be the worst. It looks as though about a 3 to, no, it's not 3, about a 10 to 20% chance of some high winds near the Four Corners. And the hail forecast, well, in the higher elevations where that mix of snow is, there could actually be some hail today. And the expected precipitation, I'm going to enlarge this a little bit because I was looking at it and we see, of course, Florida has always got a chance of precipitation all along the East Coast and down in Louisiana along the coast there. We look up here in the North Dakota, region, and there's a pretty high chance of some rain today. And of course, through the mountains in the Midwest, in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, those storms and rains are going to be stretched pretty much throughout both Dakotas, over to the west in Idaho, and back down to the south in Nevada, and back over to Nebraska. What I really wanted to look at was this right here, snowfall. It's not going to give it to me. Snowfall. It was here earlier. Dang it, the Fed. There it goes. There it comes. All right. So it looks like Wyoming and Montana have the highest chance of snowfall for today. We'll look at temperatures here in a bit. And as far as ice, well, there's not really any chance of ice in the higher regions. That was less anticlimactic than I thought it would be. So, my voice is giving out. We got 40 minutes. We can make it. We can make it. All right. So the forecast weather map we've pretty much talked about. And they're saying the National Weather Service will be updating their daily briefing, and they are on X. So if you need to check with them, your local bureau will be open of the National Weather Service. So if you have any concerns with storms, tune into your National Weather Service. Let's just skip on with this one. And let's get right to the tropics. All right. So we're talking about hurricanes again. And, well, the one unnamed disturbance down here off the coast of Florida, well, it appears that it's going to do something. And they say it's a 10% chance in the next 48 hours. So hopefully, that's it. That's it. There we go. I don't know why that happened. And then, all right, there we go. So disturbance one, 10% chance in the next 7 days. So we need to be paying attention to the Bahamas and southern Florida. It's a weak area of low pressure that is forming and is headed towards the southern tip of Florida. So pay attention to that. And behind it, there's a 50% chance of a cyclone forming in the next 7 days. We need to be paying attention to it. It has just emerged. We talked about this yesterday off the coast of Africa, and we need to pay attention to it. It is possibly going to cause some trouble. Let's look at the latest radar. Well, it's actually radar. This is satellite. Let's look at the most recent satellite. And we see it's still really not formed down there. The one off of the coast of Africa is trying harder to form if you pay attention to it. Let's go to a bigger picture of it if we can. There we go. Yeah, the one down off the coast of Florida is really disorganized and not doing much, but they still say there's a slight chance to pay attention to it. Where's the... Did I not just... Well, that's just the image. I don't want the image. I wanted the graphic. Well, there's the one. Imelda, I think her name is heading out to sea. This is the one off the coast of Florida. It's really not very organized. It's kind of a mess. But if you look over here off the coast of Africa, it's trying to spin a little bit. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Here we go. This is what I wanted. Let me update this because make sure we're fresh. This is the Google Weather Lab. Since our weather services are apparently out to lunch with a certain portion of them, I decided to look at Google and see what's going on. And it looks like out in the Pacific, there's two storms that have some potential to spinning and going off. And we see down here off the off of the coast of Florida, that's disorganized, and Google is showing not really doing anything other than basically just moving around and storming. Now, the one coming off the coast of Africa, it's got a little more potential for organization. They haven't put a spaghetti, what do they call it? A spaghetti track to it yet. Well, that's the ones out in the Pacific. So we don't have any. No, that's not what I wanted. Legend. All right. Yeah, this is all the different models. This is for the West Coast. That one could become a potential problem for Southern California. We'll keep an eye on it. If anything, it could be Southern California or Nevada if it forms enough and travels that way. And we're not seeing anything really for the Atlantic. Everything appears to still be disorganized, and they're still trying to Come Together. It's a Beatles song. Come Together. I can't sing it though. I'll get kicked out. Yeah, Chris, the spaghetti model. They haven't put a spaghetti model to it yet, but it's down there. It's trying really hard to form, but it's not going to get it. According to Google, the two storms, even the one off of Africa, are probably not going to do anything. So you see there, Google puts the potential of the one out of the Pacific of turning right and heading up into Southern California or New Mexico. I'm sorry, Las Vegas. And well, that next gen, well, it's got it all over the place. So we'll keep our eye on that one in the Pacific, but it appears it is by all models going to turn right at some point. Where it turns right and heads due north is the mystery. So depending on what part of the Pacific it is in. Let's go down to our friends in Australia, make sure they don't have any tropical storm or cyclonic activity down there. And I don't see anything, so that's good. I don't think their season starts until later. I'll have to do some homework on that. There we go. We have to resort to outside sources to get information on storms and things. Zoom in, but we see they're still calling that one less than 10% over the next 7 days, but we're going to keep our eyes on it. Let's check in some weather real quick. New York City, well, you can expect to be sunny today with a high of 71. Your weekend's going to be pretty clear. It's going to be a warm one, getting up into the 80s. Boston, well, your high of 70, sunny, and you can anticipate being in the mid 70s and low 80s through your weekend. Jump over to our friends in Burlington, Vermont. Your high is 71. Sunny skies this weekend. It's going to be in the mid 80s, and it'll be a sunny weekend for you. Cleveland, we can't say go Browns. It's going to be a high of 77, sunny, and your weekend looks pretty good. Cleared skies in the 80s. Jump over to our friends in Chicago. Well, they're going to be a high of 85 today. Their weekend's going to be great. It's going to be sunny in the high 80s through the weekend. Rain returning on Monday, so be prepared. If you live in Knoxville, well, high of 76, cloudy skies. It's going to be in the mid 80s and partly cloudy. Atlanta, we haven't seen rain in a while, and we're not going to for a couple days, but it will be cloudy, high of 75. We might make it to the 80s through a cloudy weekend. Our friends down in Key West. Well, in Key West, yes, that can't be right. 82. It's got to be warmer than that on Key West. There we go. High of 82. And as we talked about, they can always anticipate some storms. It's going to be a rainy, soggy weekend in the Keys if you want to get out on the beach or go fishing, but it will at least be warm, high in the 80s. Jump up to Florida, and we see in Pensacola for our friends down there. Sunny, and I'm sorry, not sunny, but cloudy skies in 84. Over the weekend, you're going to turn a little cloudier with rain forming Sunday and your temperatures dropping. I forgot. I need to go up here. I had a request yesterday. Let me find it. I'm going to do my geography real quick to find it. And I'll never find it. I'll never find it. And he will email me and be like, why did you not do it? There's Nantucket. We'll give him Nantucket. How about that? Nantucket, high of 63, sunny skies. You're going to stay in the low 70s, high 60s all weekend, and it be sunny. I should have looked this up beforehand. He asked me to tell his. Oh, forgive me. I'm not really familiar with the islands up there. So, all right. Well, there you go. Close enough. Let's go out to the west and see what we got going on. San Francisco. It's going to be in the 70s and sunny skies. Nothing coming in for the weekend. Jump up to Medford, Oregon. 64 is your high. Cloudy skies. It's not going to get much sunnier until Sunday when you might make it to the 70s. Eugene, for my friends there. If you're listening today, maybe you'll listen on recording. High of 64, but tomorrow's going to be rainy, 62, before turning back to sunny during the week. Who did I miss? Did I miss somebody? Let's see. Denver, high of 82, sunny skies. You're going to have a cloudy weekend, but it'll be in the high 70s, low 60s by Sunday. Texas, well, we don't like the Cowboys down there, but we'll at least give Waco I shouldn't give Waco. It's high of 91. Whew, hot one in Texas. Sunny skies all weekend, and you're going to be in the 90s. All right, I probably missed somebody, so just don't at me. Just let me know. I'll get you in there. We're going to go to our friends over at weatherwarn.com and check and see if there's anything. Sorry, Chris, I should have taken it down. If there's anything severe, well, New England, red flag warning. I'm sorry, not New England, Nebraska. Red flag warning for critical fire weather. So we need to be paying attention to that. And there we go with the test message in Maryland. Somebody really needs to do some homework on that. And I guess that would probably be my job to find out why they send out a test message every few hours. Montana, whoa, it looks like in your higher elevations, above 55,000 feet, major winter weather storm. So accumulations of 4 to 8 inches. Whew, even the higher elevations there of Montana. So if you're in Montana, you're ready for snow, I hope. And I'm not ready for snow. I'm burning up right now. Washington, they have a red flag warning. Strong winds will infect the Sugarloaf fire today. So pay attention if you're out in Washington in the Northwest. And lots of beach hazards and warnings. That's because of the storms. Coastal flooding, of course, always along the coastline in Florida. South Dakota has a red flag warning for smoke. Colorado, there we go. My friend will be happy that I mentioned this. They have a freeze warning tonight in central Colorado in the higher elevations. So keep your weather radio on and your winter jacket nearby, because I understand in Colorado it can be freezing overnight and 80 during the day. So, all right. Where is that? Oh, that's out in Alaska. Some storm warnings out in the Alaskan islands. I don't have any friends working on vessels out there. I have some friends working in the Gulf. I have some friends working off of the New England coast as well. So winter storm warnings in Montana and Wyoming. In fact, a recruiter contacted me yesterday and asked me if I wanted to come back to work and go out. I said, do you have anything cold? Before I retire, maybe I'll get to the Antarctic. He's like, no, I can get you Rhode Island. I'm like, close, but not close enough. We look at the map. This is provided by FEMA. I'm sorry, GEMA. Excuse me. I'm sorry for hacking up along. Maybe it'll draw. Maybe it won't. At this point, I'm optimist, because it's a government station, or not station, website, but it's a Georgia website, Georgia Emergency Management. You would think it would still be functioning. So why is it not functioning? It was functioning earlier. Yep, there we go. I don't know. All right, let's zoom out, and we see along the coastline of Georgia and the Carolinas, we see some weather warnings extending. Those are probably gale and rip extending down through the coast into the Keys. And of course, high winds and high surf throughout the Gulf of America. Doesn't look like there's much rain down that way, so it might be a good weekend to get out in the Gulf, do a little fishing. Yeah, I don't see anything else besides the red flag. There's wind advisories in Arizona, Nevada, back over towards Utah, in Idaho, in Southern California. And then there's the red flag warnings for pretty much most of Wyoming, and where is that? Kansas. Worried about the dry weather. Let's look at the international one and see what it says. All right, there we go. All right, so we talked about all the ones in the United States. Let's drop down and talk about our friends in Australia. See if I can screw up these names anymore. In Darwin, well, Darwin, you have a cancellation of heat wave warning. So apparently they've canceled it. They canceled the heat wave warning for today. So that's good news for you. So Darwin has canceled the heat wave warning. Drop down into extreme fire weathers. And that's in, where is that? Show me now. No, it won't show me now. Extreme fire weather for Darwin and Adelaide River in Barkly North Fire District it's for October, which is tomorrow over there. It's today here, but tomorrow there. That made sense. High wind warnings if you're off of the coast of, let's see. There we go. Strong wind warning for coastal waters between Sharp Point and Cape Tributin for October's. And So be prepared for that if you're along the coastline. Let's drop down here and see what this is. Official severe weather warning. Warning to sheep grazers for northern tablelands, central tablelands, southern tablelands, southwest slopes, snowy mountains, the Australian Capital Territory. Sheep grazers are warned that cold temperatures and northwestern winds are expected during Saturday and Sundays, likely to be affected, including parts of the tablelands, central, southern, southwest slopes, snowy mountains, and Australia Capital Territory. So this is a risk to loss of lambs and sheep exposed to those conditions. And that goes all the way down to Hobart. It has also got the same warning. So from the south all the way to, from the north all the way to the south on the east coast, all the way down into Tanzania. And in Melbourne, well, you've got some strong wind warnings, but your sheep should be okay there. Nope, I'm sorry. You've got a sheep warning there too. So there you go. If that was helpful, I hope. Let's look at active storms in the United States right now. I'm struggling, folks. I got 40 minutes. I'm struggling. I bet my fever's 102 right now. Whew. Let's see. Wyoming, there's a pretty good sized cell up there in your northwest corner near Jackson. Is it Jackson or Jackson Hole? Du Bois up there. And then we've got another cell down here forming in Las Vegas, right along the California border, on the south side of the east side of the mountains. It's not that bad. It's got some significant electrical activity, though, in the Gulf of America. For my friends listening on oil rigs right now in the Gulf of America, pay attention. There is a lot of electrical activity in the Gulf of America. Looks like there's even a storm in Key West right now. So there's a pretty good sized storm that's putting down some lightning on Key West. So pay attention if you're in the Keys and you're boating out that way. Let's go up to the north and see if there's anything up here. It doesn't look like it. So, all right, let's drop down to our friends in Australia and see if there's any electrical activity in the lightning storms down there. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of storm activity. There's a small cell. It's in the butcher this name, Wichalina Nature Reserve. There's a small cell there putting out a little electrical activity, but for most of the island, you look pretty good, especially off of the coast. It's funny that one little storm right there in the nature reserve, and it's not got a lot of electrical activity, but well, there it's popped up some, so it's trying. So pay attention to your weather radio if you're there in New Zealand. Now, if you're out off of Auckland, well, there's some storms there that you should pay attention to because that appears that electrical activity is about to move inland. All right, let's move on. And we'll look at the power outages in the U.S. and see that California is the winner. It's always California. Have you ever noticed that? So it looks like they have all kinds of people without power. Let's go back here. California currently has 15,454. I'm sorry, 11,614. That's people without power, as opposed to North Carolina's. Look at 3,353. Texas, 2,945. Florida, 2,343. Arkansas, 2,286 people without power. Let's look and see right now what is the warmest spot in the country. And it looks like Phoenix is going to take the record with 95 today. Phoenix, your high is going to be 97. You're not there yet. Sunny skies, but you're right now at 95. So you are a warm spot. And up in Rapid City, that's unusual to see that warm up there. In Rapid City, you're going to get to your high of 90 today. Sunny skies, but rain coming in tomorrow. Denver, 82 right now. Washington, D.C., 70 degrees. New York City, you're at 71 right now. Boston, 70. And Burlington, you are at 71 and sweating it. Let's see here. Maybe I can find it on this map. Nope. There we go. I'm getting close. There we go. Providence, right now at 68. Let's go offshore in Providence. We'll just guess. Offshore in Providence, we'll go with this one. Falmouth, it's high of 64. You're at 63 right now. But if you're listening to me and you're on one of the rigs up there working, I think you're on windmills if you told me correctly. Or is it windmills? Yeah, you're out there helping to restore the windmills, change out transformers and stuff. You're going to have nice sunny conditions, but wear a jacket during the day or during the night because it's be in the low 60s. So there you go. For my listeners, I have friends that are listening to us off of the coast of Rhode Island. They're working on windmills, and I have friends that are working in the Gulf of America on oil platforms. They've checked in with me several times. And my friends in Colorado that, well, I think they're just animal control agents that check in with me as well. So we appreciate all they do. Heat warning for today. Looks like it's going to be much of Minnesota, Iowa, back down into Illinois. The east side of Colorado, east side of Colorado, right at the Kansas border, code orange. But here in the south, we're just going to remain a code yellow, which is minor. I'm probably a code orange right now without anything. If you get over on the east coast from Orlando down through Miami back to central Florida, there could be some code orange sun today. Don't see anything up there. My friends down in working on the oil rigs, you're going to be anywhere from a yellow to an orange. Probably going to be hot during the day and chilly and breezy at night. Let me know out there. I enjoy hearing from you guys. What do we got here? We had an earthquake last night. I got messaged about it in the northern ridge in the mid-Atlantic. It was a 5.1 that occurred last night. It was probably about 11 o'clock Eastern our time. Let's see, it says we have 2 new notifications. Winter storm in Glacier National Park. We'll check in on that. And we see the Glacier National Park. They've just entered a winter storm. So there you go. There's that. And what else do we got? High wind in Imperial Valley. Fire weather in central Nebraska. And winter storm in Bighorn, Montana. And, of course, up in, where's that one? It's in Canada, so I anticipate a storm up there. High winds and gale conditions off of Lake Superior. If you're listening to us up there, I don't think I have any friends working out in that particular region. My buddy with the northwest wind, he was in Cleveland, and I should play that. That was fun. Maybe I'll do that. We have 15 minutes. I'm not going to cover that. Here's our big blue round perfect globe. For those of you still hanging in there and want to get the AI experience of a relaxful, peaceful moment, we see that much of the lower 48 is going to be fairly wind-free, except for from Chesapeake Bay down through Florida and back into the Gulf of America. We do see that disturbance in the Pacific, though. It's really starting to form. Nothing down here in the Gulf. I'm sorry, not the Gulf, in the Atlantic forming yet. It's still very disorganized. Let's drop down to Australia. I remember one show I had a fever and was telling you guys fever and sleep deprived, and I was giving you guys the wind conditions for the South Pole, saying it was Australia. I don't drink on the air like other shows, but sometimes I'm just known to be crazy. Looks like in Australia today it's going to be fairly breezy, especially on the east coast and down through central. Looks like it's going to be breezy coming from the north going to the southeast. So there you go. I can't really count on this one showing us what's going on with NASA because the fires with the U.S. Forestry. So this isn't 100%. I'm just going to kind of skip through. The air quality is also on vacation, so we'll see. We do know that there are no tsunami warnings, advisories, watches, or threats. Excuse me. I'm fading. And let's go to earthquakes. See what's happened in the last 24 hours. And of course, we talked about the one out on the ridge. And in the United States, it looks as though they had in Arkansas a 2.2 in central Arkansas. El Paso in western Texas, you had a 2.0. Looks like Texas has several of them. And they had a 2.0 and 2.3s. And that's down in Southern California, a 3.0. Gets just to the Northern California, 2.1. Western Montana, a 2.5. Let's see if there's anything in the last hour that's occurred. Well, it looks like the one off of the coast of Northern California of 2.1 is the most recent in the lower 48s. And volcanoes, skip over that because I'm not sure that they're up to date. Yeah. Due to lapse in appropriations, yeah, well, you're not working. Great. Space weather, well, we're going to have some, according to geophysicists, we're going to have some severe solar storms and activity over the weekend, but NASA's out to lunch, so we probably won't hear about it. Let's go over to the flight map and see what's going on. Chris says it's always advantageous to have as many windmill friends as possible. They're just medics working out off the coast, so they're apparently changing transformers or something. I don't understand it, but the medics just stand there in case somebody gets hurt, basically. Let's see what we got here. I'm looking specifically to see if we have any, let's say, cargo ship or cargo flight. That's probably a dignitary. We'll probably see a lot of dignitaries coming out of Washington, D.C. And it's C-17. There was some strange activity last night. The P-8s got extremely active along the Gulf of America. There is a dignitary coming out of Tampa headed north. And this one's not telling us what it is, but it does register as a P-8. So they're combing the waters from Jacksonville down to, well, what about that? West Palm Beach. So I wonder if our president's going to be traveling south today. I did talk to somebody about the trainer flights. They said you're going to start seeing a whole lot more of them. Apparently, they're going to be training dogfighting. This is one of those interesting flights. I won't give away its location. But this is basically, it's listed as a government flight. It's basically a crop duster that they have taken and decided to repurpose with radar, sonar, missiles. It can do all kinds of things. It's a crop duster. My buddy said, you're going to start seeing a lot of those pop up. So there's one of those trainer flights right there. It turned on its beacon probably somewhere west, and now it's turned on and it's headed in towards headed that way. It's probably going down to Mobile. But we did have a P-8 looking up and around. I don't see anything else for the Gulf of America. Yep, that's a special air flight. It's a dignitary, won't say who. It's a P-8. And of course, we have flights traveling, or helicopters traveling all over the place. King Air from the U.S. headed down to, it looks like the Bahamas. Let's see if there's anything activity going down here. I was reading about what is going on in Venezuela. And so let me drop back and zoom in a little bit here. So we apparently have very large troop presence stacked in Puerto Rico and Venezuela, all ready to go in case something happens in Venezuela. We see there is San Juan, Venezuela is due south of it. And what I was reading from my buddy, he was telling me the history of Venezuela. Apparently, in the early 2000s, Venezuela government took over another country and then occupied it and called it Venezuela. And since then, they have been occupied by Venezuelan troops. I found that interesting because if we're going in there, are we going in to liberate? It's kind of strange. Why would we do that? Let's hop over across the pond, see what we got. We have a United Kingdom's. It's a Royal Air Force jet. It's coming up out of, where is that? Coming up out of Canada, and it's headed back across the drink. And for anything odd, I think I brought it up. How are we doing time? We have about 10 minutes. That's probably not a P-8 down there. It's a Gulfstream in Sweden. What are they doing down in deep South Africa? There's one from Oman. Notice this is all dark. Nothing over here. They don't tell us what they're doing. And believe me, they don't like that they have to tell us this stuff. So there's a Polish military flight that is flying. Interesting. I don't know what kind of plane that is. It's a prop job. Another C-17. Another prop job. That one's from Czech. It's from Italy, flying off the coast of Italy. It's a dignitary. All right, so I didn't see any P8. I did take, let's see what this is down here. That's a King Air flying in New Zealand. All right. What we got going on out here? This is Hawaii. And we get several C-17s, probably moving people and troops and equipment around. They do that so often. And Boeing Pegasus. What do we have here? It's just a tanker. Well, if there's a tanker, we know there's something else up. With it being that close, it's flying a route, so there's probably some fighter jets nearby that out on Southern California side. Don't see any P-8s, though. The only P-8 we saw was down in the Gulf of America, and it was on the east side of the state. So I don't see any P-8s, but yeah, from what it was telling me from my friends, we're going to start seeing a lot of these little trainer jets pop up, and they're going to be training to, like, basically, if I understood correctly, they're going to be training to invade airspace and try and sneak in. So basically, we've got troops using trainer aircraft that are subsonic, and they're going to be painted and dressed up as possibly a bad guy and try and come in and see how long it takes people to get them. So Chris says, we don't need Aster at NASA to know the comet that can change speeds, colors, and shoots light out randomly. That planet is perfectly benign. Nothing to see here. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. Wow, that P-8, it come out of Greensboro. It did some low observations, and it is headed, what's altitude right now? It's only at 32,000 feet, so it's not really, well, nope, there's two P-8s. All right, so there's two P-8s up. This one has come from Jacksonville to the north. Actually, I wouldn't at three. No, it's a SAM flight. We're not showing this people with it. And this one is coming south. So we have two P-8s up off of the east coast. Looks like they're coming down from Chesapeake Bay down to the Keys looking for any sub activity. I meant to pull that story up. There was apparently a Russian sub that just kind of popped up. Yeah, apparently it just popped up, and they're like, why are you here? They're like, oh, we got some mechanical issues. So it wasn't in American waters, but apparently it popped up with some it was a Russian sub, popped up, had some mechanical issues. No one knew it was there. Scared the bejesus out of, I can't remember who it was, but that happened within the last 48 hours. Let's see. Well, down in South Florida, they have the normal dignitary airspace for national, but they don't have it extended. So I don't think that the commander-in-chief's going down there. If anywhere, he would be going north, but I don't see for the weekend, I don't see any special NOTAMs. Let's see, they've really changed that going along the rivers in Washington and in Hudson River, but I don't see anything major even for up north. So apparently he's going to stay in Washington this weekend. He'll probably travel by car, do some golfing at his leisure. What is that? Special airspace. That's in Southwest Virginia. That's probably because of the dignitary still. Yeah, that's on Quantico. A friend of mine told me that not everybody from Quantico left that day. 20 people left without a military flight or military transport. That's what I was told. And supposedly, if you didn't take a test, you didn't leave Quantico. So they're still down there doing some kinds of tests and signing NDAs. So Chris says, Russian subs notoriously have awful GPS systems. I had a buddy that was a submariner. Is that the right word? And back during the Cold War, they actually went to do some kind of mission and ended up in the wrong place. And then they were playing cat and mouse. And apparently they can stay underwater for a long period of time. But apparently they were underwater for over 6 months trying to avoid and get back out of where they were. Said that people were really stir crazy. I can only imagine. That would be 6 months underwater. Whew, goodness gracious. I am so glad there are people willing to do that. I am not. I'll run into a burning building, but yeah, I don't want to go in. If somebody asked me to go on like one mission on a U.S. military one, not some Titanic shit where it's going to collapse like a tin can. No, on a real professional one, I would. So I wouldn't mind doing that. There's two things I'd love to do before my career ends, and I think my career is actually already over. I would love to be a paramedic in Antarctica. And I've been a paramedic on a plane, and I've been on helicopters, planes, of course, cars, vans, you name it. Haven't been on a ship. No, I haven't been a paramedic on a ship, so I wouldn't mind doing that. Submarine or rail. So I don't know. I'm dreaming at this point. My career is almost over. My birthday is coming up, and I am fast approaching the point of not being fit for duty. I would say I'm already not fit for duty, if anybody asks. If I had to do the PT test, probably wouldn't do very well. So, all right, everybody. Well, I'm rambling at this point, and the only thing we're really looking at is, it's funny, we were talking about Venezuela. When we first started talking about the Americans being down in the Caribbean, we saw a huge wide swath of area that was, well, pretty much no man's land, but that's opened back up. So if we're going to do anything, I would say it'll be a 5 o'clock Friday drop on 5 o'clock Eastern time. So if anything happens, it'll be tonight, probably down in the Caribbean. It'll be late night. It'll happen quick. And it's probably been planned for months. So Chris says you wouldn't need any knowledge on treating sunburns or heat stroke. Well, that is true. It's true. I had a friend message me. I'm getting way off topic. He is a paramedic up in Maryland, actually, right along the Chesapeake Bay. They have seen an increase in people getting bit by copperheads and timber rattlers. Apparently, it's the prime time for the snakes to come out, but they're not native to the area, so people are like, ooh, pretty shiny pet, and they're trying to touch it, and, well, it's not ending well. There's not been anybody hurt seriously, but apparently they're not familiar with snakes, because he's like, we had to look it up as to, is there anti-venom? What the hell do we do? And I'm like, yeah, just take him to the hospital. They'll be all right. All right, we'll look at, before we get out of here, these are balloons that are up. Not as many as today. We've seen before where much of the country is covered by balloons. They're either doing weather, or they're doing some other type of surveillance. It doesn't appear that there's too many up today. We'll go over and look in Europe, and, well, now it is a different story. All kinds of high altitude balloons over Europe. Let's see. We specifically could call out France, and we can call out Germany, and where else down? Croatia. So down in the Czechs, lots of balloons up there flying. There's a real rogue one down here in the UAB, down in the southern. What is that? No, it's going out over Iran. That's a brave balloon. So we can see if there's anything down in Australia. There is one rogue balloon up over Sydney. Is it a weather balloon? Is it some other type of balloon? Is it an amateur radio balloon? Who knows? But it's out over your airspace. So there you go. All right, we're almost out of here. I got just a few seconds left. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with me. I'm going to go cold medicate. We'll leave here with Bit Defender as usual, and we will see what happens. Everybody, have a great weekend. I'm going to go take cold meds. My favorite show comes on tonight, Live PD, so I'll be covering that. Yeah, Andy does, but hey, if you ever get a chance, ask Andy about the time he fell off an ambulance stretcher off his front porch. Due to HIPAA laws, I can't tell you. But all right, everybody, have a great weekend. I'm going to go put my feet up and relax. Hopefully get to feeling better. Thank you to all my friends at Dare Talk Radio, Radio X. Please come find me on @Sportcat on X, or drop me a message, speakpipe.com/Sportcat. I welcome all criticism, or just good banter back and forth. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you, I think, my birthday, Monday. So everybody have a great day. I'm pushing a button if I can figure out how the hell to and get the hell out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. Sportcat, well, I'm out of here. I'm not much of a boss.